I've talked about this in a previous video, but I feel it's worth reiterating. You know what it is that you should be doing right now, but you're not. You're watching a random video by a random YouTuber, and let's be honest, this is not your first or your last video of the day. I can guarantee that this is not what you set out to do this morning. Yet, here you are. Let me tell you what you're doing wrong. You see, every morning you wake up with the intention to get so much done, and you have the next 16 hours or so to do it. Now, these 16 hours usually go one of two ways. Scenario 1, you start the day by waking up an hour later than you intended to. You grab your phone as soon as you open your eyes, and by the time you realize that you wanted to get shit done today, another hour's passed. You're feeling hungry. You grab some cereal and open up YouTube for a little bit. Next thing you know, breakfast finished an hour ago, but you were too busy to notice. Now it's almost lunchtime, and you promise yourself that you'll get started right after lunch. But after lunch, you're feeling a little lazy, a little sluggish. So you open up Netflix just for a little bit. 2 episodes in, you decide to cut your losses. You take the L and tell yourself that you'll start fresh the next morning. We all know what happens to the promise the next day. Scenario 2. You wake up early. Your hand reaches for the phone right away, but you stop yourself. Instead of the cereal, you grab some oats. Instead of opening up YouTube, you open up a book. You finish your breakfast and get started with your work right away. An hour in, a notification from your favorite subreddit pops up, but again, you somehow stop yourself from clicking on it. A few hours later, it's time for lunch. You've been able to get a decent amount of work done, but by resisting distractions every step of the way, you've also depleted all your willpower. You see, contrary to popular opinion, your willpower is not a manifestation of your character that you can deploy without limits. We generally see willpower as something that just is. If person A has strong willpower, we assume that his willpower is like a shield, always by his side. We assume that it's like a wall that protects him from distractions day in and day out. But in reality, willpower is more like a muscle that tires with use. Every time you use your willpower, it gets depleted. Think of it as a jug of water that automatically fills up overnight. Throughout the day, every time you resist a temptation, every time you resist a distraction, that water reduces and reduces until the jar is completely empty. Coming back to our scenario 2, you finish lunch and also all your willpower. The jar's empty, the wall's down. You spend the entire rest of the day overindulging in instant gratification activities. You have YouTube open on your laptop, a video game on your phone, and a half-empty packet of chips by your side. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Of course, by making the wrong decisions, you're setting yourself up for failure. But even when you make the correct decisions, you're depleting your willpower and again setting yourself up for failure. How do you get out of this? I'm going to share with you what may be the greatest productivity hack. I'm going to share with you the one tool that every successful person uses. But for now, let's come back to that question for a second. How do you get out of this? Let's walk through what happens inside our brains during this process. Every time you decide to do something, your brain is faced with a choice. A choice between the right decision and the wrong decision. For example, as soon as you wake up, your brain is faced with a choice between grabbing the phone and resisting grabbing the phone. After you've freshened up, your brain is faced with a choice between going to the gym or lying on your bed and scrolling through Instagram reels. You can either make the easy choice by giving in to temptation and knowingly make the wrong decision, or you can make the correct decision by using your willpower. But the catch is that you deplete your willpower more and more every time you use it. So again, how do you get out of this? How do you do the right things while at the same time preserving your willpower so that you can continue to do the right things throughout the day? Think of it logically for a moment. There's only one way out of this. The way out of this is to not have the choice to make the wrong decision in the first place. That way you don't have to use your willpower to make the correct decision. And how do you take away that choice? Now this is the trick. This is the greatest productivity hack there is. Listen to it, understand it, internalize it. Schedule every day of yours from now onwards according to this following sentence. Are you ready? Do the same things at the same times every single day. That's it. I've given you the hack. This is the one sentence that completely turned my life around. This is the one sentence that helped me go from being a serial procrastinator to what I consider a productivity master now. You see, the human body craves routine. It's like an algorithm in that way. It doesn't care whether you choose to lie on your bed and open up Instagram first thing in the morning, or you choose to head straight to the gym instead. It will adapt to whatever you do, and it will make choosing that thing easier and easier every successive time. The goal is to do the right things at the same times, so many times day after day, that your brain no longer sees a choice at hand. What I'm saying to you essentially is that it's possible to program your mind like you would a machine to do whatever you want. Let me share my experience with you. I had been a serial procrastinator all my life. I was physically incapable of ever doing the right thing. I always made the wrong choice. But about a year ago, I was faced with a do or die situation. I knew that I'd completely fucked up my school and my college grades. I knew that there was no way that I could land a half decent job with what I had. The only option I had left then was to study my ass off for the GMAT and get an amazing score. A score good enough to compensate for my below average grades. But there was a problem. I did not know how to study. I had never in my life studied for anything earlier than a day before the exam. For literally months, I tried every day and I failed every day. I would go to sleep every night, promising myself, asking myself, begging myself all at the same time to please have a productive day the next day. And the next day would be no different. I tried every productivity hack, from the Pomodoro technique to setting artificial deadlines to to-do lists. Nothing worked. One of my main problems was that it would take me hours to convince myself to just sit down and start. The solution I finally landed on was to have my books and my pen and my laptop ready in the study room the night before. As soon as I was done freshening up in the morning, I would go and sit down there before my brain had a chance to come up with an excuse. I used to get up at 9:30, and by 10 every day I would be on my study table, ready to get started. It was difficult in the beginning, but over time I saw it get easier and easier for myself to focus. Even on the days I felt lazy, as soon as the clock hit 10, it would feel like my body was pushing me to get started. Today, my entire day is based on this trick. I sit down to work at 8, I leave for the gym at 10, and so on. Earlier, I would have to convince myself to go to the gym because my brain had the choice between going to the gym and skipping that day. And it was very easy to choose the latter. But today, my brain no longer knows a reality where I don't head to the gym at 10. So there is no choice to make. There is no alternative. That is the goal. To summarize, here's exactly what you do. Here are the 2 steps to program your mind to start doing what you wanted to do. Step 1, make yourself a timetable. Take all the time you need to figure out what your ideal day looks like. Make a timetable that's not too hard on you, but one that at the same time gives you enough time to get a good amount of work done. The best tip I can give you is to make a timetable of days that you would feel happy, you'd be proud to have over and over again. Step 2, follow it. Follow it no matter what. Force yourself to follow it. You're going to have to in the beginning. You know that now, because your brain is not used to doing these things. As it gets used to them, you'll see it get easier and easier to start doing the right things, to start making the right choices. But until then, do the same things at the same times every single day.